He opened his eyes slowly. Bright lights stung them, and he blinked many times, trying to see clearly. The ceiling was smooth and glowing with soft blue light, not like anything he had seen before. Machines beeped quietly around him, and the air smelled clean but strange. A shadow moved over his face, and he turned his head slowly. A tall figure stood beside him. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes large and purple, and she wore a long robe that shimmered like water. She looked down at him with worry in her eyes. "Careful. Human, you've been in a coma for over 20 years, she said gently. Her voice was soft, but the words hit him like thunder. 20 years. That couldn't be true. His heart pounded, and he tried to sit up, but pain rushed through his body. The alien woman touched his shoulder and guided him back down. "Do not move too fast," she said. "Your body is weak, but you are alive." He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His throat was dry and sore. She handed him a small cup with glowing blue liquid. He drank it, and it tasted like mint and metal. After a few seconds, he could speak. Where am I?" he asked, his voice cracked and shaky. "You are in a medical facility on Station Luma," she replied. He had never heard of that place before. "What happened to me?" he asked. "You were found in a damaged cryopod drifting near a dead zone," she said. "Your pod had Earth markings, so we brought you here." He stared at her, confused. "The last thing I remember, I was on a ship," he said slowly. "I was with my team, heading toward a jump gate." She nodded. "That was a long time ago." He looked around the room. Everything was alien, the machines, the walls, even the bed he was lying on. Through a small window, he saw a sky that wasn't blue, it was purple, filled with stars and 2 floating moons. "My name is Ethan," he said. "I'm Laura." The alien woman said, "I've been watching over you." He looked down at his hands. They looked thinner, his skin a bit pale, but something else caught his eye. There was a small glowing crystal in the center of his chest. It pulsed with light, slow and steady like a heartbeat. "What is this?" he asked, pointing to it. Laura hesitated. "We don't know," she said quietly. "It was inside your body when we found you." He felt strange, like there was something inside him that didn't belong, but it didn't hurt. It felt familiar, like it was a part of him. "Where is my team?" Ethan asked. "Are they here?" Laura looked away. Her face became serious. "We searched all nearby zones, but no other humans were found," she said. "You might be the last one." Ethan's chest tightened. "No," he whispered. "That can't be right." "I'm sorry," Laura said. "The war destroyed many colonies. Earth went silent years ago." He stared at the floor, the words echoing. In his mind, alone, he was alone. But then a thought hit him. If I've been asleep for 20 years, why am I still alive? Laura paused, then said, "Your body was enhanced." "Enhanced?" He repeated. "Yes," she said. "You are not just a man anymore." Ethan looked at her with wide eyes. "What do you mean?" "We believe your body was part of a human experiment," she said. "Something called Project Lazarus." He had heard that name before, but only in secret talks. Project Lazarus was meant to create soldiers who could survive anything. "Do you think I'm one of them?" he asked. "We are not sure yet," Laura said. "But that crystal in your chest, it responds to your emotions." Ethan felt fear, confusion, and sadness. The crystal glowed brighter. Laura stepped back, watching carefully. "It's waking up too," she said softly. Suddenly, a voice echoed inside Ethan's head. It was his own voice, but from a memory. "Activate Lazarus Protocol," the voice said. He gasped and clutched his chest. "What was that?" he asked, breathing hard. "You remembered something," Laura said. "More will come." Ethan closed his eyes, trying to calm himself. The crystal slowly dimmed again. He looked at Laura. "What now?" he asked. "We need to find out who you really are," she said, "and what you were made to do." Outside, the stars moved slowly in the sky. But Ethan's world had already changed forever. He was not just a man who woke up after 20 years. He was something more, and now everything was watching him. Asterisk, the crystal inside his chest started glowing again while he slept. It hummed softly, as if whispering secrets into his dreams. Ethan tossed and turned, sweat on his forehead. In his dream, he stood on a battlefield under a dark sky. Burning ships rained from above, and strange alien creatures charged at him. But he didn't run. He raised his hand, and light shot from his palm like a weapon. He screamed, but not from fear, from power. Then he woke up, heart racing, chest glowing brighter than ever. Laura rushed into the room, eyes wide. "It's getting stronger," she said, looking at the crystal. "I saw something," Ethan whispered, breathing heavily. "I was fighting with light." Laura looked concerned. "That's not a normal dream," she said. "That's a memory." Ethan sat up slowly, rubbing his temples. "My mind feels like broken glass," he muttered. "Sharp pieces everywhere." He looked at the strange machines in the room, glowing and moving on their own. "Why does this place feel familiar when I've never been here before?" he asked. Laura sat beside him, quiet for a moment. "There's something I didn't tell you," she said. "When we found your pod, it wasn't just floating. It was locked in orbit around a machine," she said. "A very old machine. We didn't know what it was," she continued, "until you touched it." Ethan looked at her, confused. "What happened when I touched it?" "You activated it," Laura said, "and it spoke. In your voice." He felt cold suddenly. "I don't remember that," he said. "You wouldn't," she replied. "You were still asleep." They moved through the halls of the station together. Ethan walked slower than usual, but each step felt stronger than the last. The other alien workers stopped and stared as he passed. Some bowed their heads slightly. Others looked afraid. "Why are they looking at me like that?" he asked. "They know what you are," Laura said, "or what you might become." They entered a secured room at the end of the hallway. The door opened with a soft hiss, and inside stood a tall glass case. In it, a suit of armor floated, surrounded by blue light. It didn't look human. The armor was smooth, dark, and had sharp lines that looked like wings folded on its back. "What is that?" Ethan asked, walking closer. "That's the armor you were wearing when we found you," Laura said. He stared at it, trying to remember. "It doesn't look like anything we made," he said. "That's because we think it's alive," Laura whispered. "And it chose you." Ethan reached out, and the armor glowed slightly in response. A flash of memory returned, his hand reaching out during battle. The armor wrapping around him like liquid metal. He stepped back, his chest crystal pulsing again. "Why can't I remember all of it?" he asked, frustrated. "Because someone made you forget," Laura said softly. She tapped on the wall and brought up a holographic screen. It showed a name, Project Lazarus, and a list of files marked as forbiddens. Ethan stared at the screen. He saw his name and another word below it. "Hybrid, what does that mean?" he asked. Laura hesitated, then said, "It means you're not just human anymore. Part of you was made with alien code." He backed away from the screen, confused and angry. "I didn't agree to this," he said. "We don't think you had a choice," she replied. Suddenly, alarms rang through the station, red lights flashing on the ceiling. Laura looked at the screen and gasped. "Someone is trying to access your pod's data remotely," she said. "They found you." "Who?" Ethan asked. Laura's face grew serious. "The ones who created you," she said. "And they're not here to help." The lights dimmed, and the station began to shake. Ethan felt the crystal in his chest grow warmer, almost like it was preparing for something. "What do we do?" he asked. Laura reached out her hand and said, "We run." Ethan didn't hesitate. He took her hand and followed her through the shaking hallway. As they moved, Ethan saw a glimpse of his reflection in a broken screen. For a moment, his eyes weren't blue anymore. They were glowing white. Something inside him was waking up. Something powerful. The past was gone, and he didn't understand the future yet. But Ethan knew one thing for sure. He was no longer just a man lost in time. He was becoming something else, and the universe wasn't ready for him. The voices in the hallway weren't meant for human ears, but Ethan heard them anyway. His ears twitched slightly, catching sounds that were too far, too soft, and too hidden. He stopped walking and stood still, eyes focused ahead. Laura turned around. "What's wrong?" she asked. He held up his hand to silence her. "They're talking about me," he said in a low voice. Behind the thick walls, alien scientists were whispering. "He's dangerous," one said. "He's not supposed to wake up," said another. "We should end it before it's too late." Ethan's fists clenched. His heart pounded, not from fear but anger. They didn't trust him. They were scared of him, and he didn't even know why. "What aren't you telling me, Laura?" he asked, his voice cold now. Laura looked guilty, but didn't speak. "I heard them," he said again. "They're hiding something." Laura lowered her head. "Yes," she admitted softly. "They are." She led him into a dark room and locked the door behind them. The room was cold, filled with metal shelves and old data drives. No cameras, no eyes, only truth. "You weren't the only one in Project Lazarus," she began. "There were 7 of you." Ethan's eyes widened. "Where are the others?" he asked quickly. "We don't know," Laura said. "But something went wrong." She handed him a small black cube. "Play it," she said. Ethan touched the cube, and a 3D image appeared in the air. 7 figures stood in a row, all in dark armor, glowing eyes, strong and still. One of them stepped forward, his own face, younger, colder, more like a machine. "I am Commander Ethan Rice," the image said. "Operation Omega Storm begins now." Ethan stepped back in shock. "That's me," he whispered. "But I don't remember any of this." "You were their leader," Laura explained. "You were the first successful hybrid, part human, part alien tech. You were built for war, not peace." Ethan felt dizzy, like the walls were closing in. "I don't want to be a weapon," he said. "But you were made to be one," Laura replied. He stared at the image again. The younger version of himself looked confident, almost heartless. That wasn't who he wanted to be. The screen changed, suddenly static, then red alerts, screams echoed, then explosions, one by one. The 7 soldiers vanished into flames. Only Ethan remained, trapped inside a cryopod as the lab around him collapsed. "They tried to erase your memories after the mission failed," Laura said. "But something stayed. Something inside." "You still remembers." Ethan sat down, head in his hands. He couldn't tell what was real anymore. Were his dreams just memories trying to escape? Was the voice in his head really his own? "Laura," he said quietly, "what do I do now?" She looked at him with soft eyes. "You must find out who you really are," she said, "and decide if you want to be what they made you to be or something else." Suddenly, the door behind them shook violently. Laura pulled out a small energy weapon. "They're coming," she said. "Who?" Ethan asked, standing quickly. "The High Council," she said. "They want to lock you away." Ethan looked at his glowing chest. "No," he said firmly. "Not again." He stepped toward the door and placed his hand on the wall beside it. The lights flickered and the door burst open on its own. Laura stared, stunned. "You controlled the door," she whispered. Ethan's hand still glowed faintly. "I didn't even try," he said, shocked. Guards outside the hallway pointed their weapons. "Do not move, hybrid," one of them shouted. Ethan looked at Laura then. Back at the guards, he raised his hand slowly, but the crystal in his chest flared with light. A wave of force shot out from his body, knocking the guards to the ground like leaves in a storm. Laura's mouth dropped open. "You're changing faster than we thought," she said. "I don't know how to stop it," Ethan said, "and I'm not sure I want to." They ran through the corridors, alarms blaring everywhere. Other aliens moved out of their way, staring in fear or awe. "Where are we going?" Ethan asked. "To the control room," Laura said. "There's something there you need to see." As they reached the large control room doors, Ethan stopped. He felt something like a heartbeat in the walls. "Do you feel that?" he asked. Laura nodded slowly. Yes, she said. It's calling to you. The doors opened, revealing a dark chamber with a single glowing object in the center. A black cube floating above a golden stand, humming softly. Ethan stepped forward. Drawn by some force he couldn't explain, the cube opened, revealing a name carved inside. Ethan Rice, access level Prime. You were never just part of Project Lazarus, Laura said quietly. You were its creator. Ethan stared at the name, the glow, the truth. Everything he thought he was a lie, and now it was time to face the real story. Asterisk. The cube didn't feel cold. It felt alive, like it had a slow heartbeat, matching Ethan's own as his fingers touched it. Glowing lines appeared across the surface, forming shapes, symbols, then words. Laura stood behind him, silent, almost afraid to speak. The room seemed to breathe, shadows moving like soft waves on the walls. Then the cube spoke, not aloud, but directly into Ethan's mind. Welcome back, Prime Director Rice. Ethan's legs almost gave out. He stepped back, hand shaking. What did it just call me? He asked. Laura's face was pale, her voice low. Prime Director. That's a title only given to the creator. I didn't create anything, Ethan said quickly. I don't even remember who I was. You do, the cube answered again, inside his mind. Your memories were sealed by your own order. He turned to Laura, confused and scared. Why would I erase my own memories? To hide something, she said. Something dangerous. The cube spun slowly and opened like a blooming flower. Inside, a small silver key hovered in the air, glowing softly. Use this, the cube said, and the locked files will be yours again. Ethan hesitated, then reached out and took the key. The moment his fingers closed around it, a surge of images hit his brain fast, broken, like a puzzle thrown in the wind. He fell to one knee, gasping. Laura rushed to his side. What did you see? She asked. Names, Ethan whispered, and screams. And fire. Later, in the data chamber, Ethan inserted the key into the console. It unlocked a file marked Project Genesis Eyes Only. They watched as the screen lit up with old human military logos. A man appeared on the screen, wearing a black uniform. It was Ethan, but colder, stronger, and full of confidence. If you're watching this, the video version of Ethan said, then I failed, and everything I tried to hide is coming back. Project Genesis was never about saving humanity. It was about control. The real Ethan stared, frozen. He couldn't remember saying any of this, but it was his face, his voice. We took alien tech, merged it with human DNA. The video continued. We made weapons. Living weapons. I was the first. Laura covered her mouth. Oh no. It was you. I did this, Ethan said quietly. The screen changed again, showing tests, experiments, soldiers being enhanced, some dying, some changing. He saw the others, the 6 soldiers who vanished, and then he saw the truth. They didn't vanish. He destroyed them. No, he whispered, stepping back from the screen. You erased your memory to forget, Laura said, to protect what was left of your humanity. Before Ethan could respond, an alarm blared across the station. A deep, robotic voice echoed through the halls. Unknown signal approaching. Prepare for impact. Laura looked at Ethan, fear in her eyes. They found us again, she said. Who? Ethan asked. She swallowed hard. The others, outside. A ship dark as night hovered near the station. It didn't send a warning. It didn't ask to land. It fired. The shockwave hit hard, shaking the floors, breaking lights, and sending sparks flying. Ethan grabbed Laura and pulled her down as the ceiling cracked above them. We have to go, she shouted. To where? Ethan yelled back. The lower hangar. There's an escape ship. They ran through smoke and chaos, other aliens running in fear. Alarms screaming everywhere. Ethan's chest glowed again, stronger now, as if responding to the danger. Every time they passed a locked door, it opened before he could touch it. He was changing more and more by the second. As they reached the hangar, they saw it. A tall figure standing in the shadows, wearing dark armor that looked like Ethan's, only twisted, corrupted, and burning red. "Ethan Rice," the figure said, voice metallic and deep. "I knew you'd wake up." Ethan stepped in front of Laura, fists clenched. "Who are you?" he shouted. "I'm what you left behind," the figure answered, stepping forward. "I'm Subject 7, the final soldier, the one they thought was lost, the one Ethan had failed to kill. You tried to destroy me," 7 growled, "but now I've come to return the favor." The lights around them dimmed, and the floor cracked beneath the pressure of 7's power. Laura looked at Ethan. "Can you fight him?" she asked. Ethan's chest pulsed, his hands glowing bright white. "I don't know," he said, stepping forward, "but I'm done running." Time seemed to stop when Ethan stepped toward Subject 7. The air grew heavy, like invisible hands pressing down on everything. Sparks floated in the smoke, glowing like fireflies in a burning world. Laura held her breath as the two hybrids stared at each other, one created to lead, the other left behind to destroy. "You left me in that burning lab," Subject 7 said, voice sharp and full of hate. "You shut the doors and called it justice." Ethan's heart pounded. He didn't remember, but the guilt still crushed him. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "Don't lie," 7 growled. "You made me what I am." Without warning, 7 charged. Moving faster than any normal being, Ethan raised his arms just in time, and the impact sent both of them flying through metal crates. The hangar shook, alarms still ringing, flames dancing along the walls. They crashed to the floor, and Ethan groaned, his arms glowing faintly from blocking the attack. Laura fired her energy pistol, trying to help, but the bolts bounced off 7's armor like rain. "Go!" Ethan shouted at her. "Get to the ship." "I'm not leaving you," she yelled back. But Ethan was already on his feet, face full of fury and confusion. He charged this time, and their fists met in the air, sending out a shockwave that cracked the floor beneath them. Each punch felt like thunder, each block like stone walls crashing together. But it wasn't just strength. Ethan's crystal heart was waking up. With every second, he was getting stronger, faster, more aware. "Why? Do you want to destroy me?" Ethan asked, dodging another blow. "Because I remember everything you chose to forget," 7 hissed. "I remember the pain, the fire, the lies." Ethan jumped back, breathing hard. "I didn't choose this," he said. "I erased it because I didn't want to become a monster." 7's eyes flared red. "You were always the monster," he said. Suddenly, Ethan felt a strange pull, his chest crystal reacting again. It glowed brightly, and from it, light spread across his arms like armor forming out of air. His movements became smoother, his thoughts clearer. It was as if the past was no longer holding him back. He was finally becoming who he was meant to be. 7 snarled and charged again. But Ethan ducked under and slammed a glowing fist into his side, sending him flying across the room. The hangar walls bent from the impact, metal twisting with a scream. "Not bad," 7 growled, standing again. "But you're still too late." A sudden tremor shook the station, worse than before. Laura looked up at the ceiling as cracks spread across it. "He planted charges," she shouted. "He's going to bring the whole station down." Ethan turned to her. "Can the escape ship fly?" "Yes, but start it now," he ordered. "What about you?" "I'll stop him, or at least buy time." Laura hesitated, but then nodded and ran to the ship. Ethan turned back to 7, who was laughing now. "You still think you can fix this?" he asked. "No," Ethan said calmly, "but I can stop you from hurting anyone else." 7 raised both hands, and twin blades of dark energy formed in the air. He rushed forward with a roar, swinging with deadly force. Ethan blocked with glowing arms, sparks flying everywhere. Their battle moved faster than before, two superhumans locked in a deadly dance. The hangar began to break apart around them, the ceiling cracking, fire raining down. In the middle of the chaos, Ethan saw a vision, his own face in the mirror of a lab, holding the crystal heart. You have to choose. The memory voice said, power or peace. He made his choice. Ethan reached into his chest, grabbed the glowing crystal, and pulled it out. The light exploded from his body, blinding everything. Seven screamed, covering his face. What are you doing? Ethan pressed the crystal against Seven's chest. I'm giving you back what I stole, he said. The light spread, and both of them were thrown apart. When the dust settled, Seven lay unconscious. The hate in his eyes gone, Ethan collapsed. His body shaking, no longer glowing, Laura returned, dragging Ethan toward the ship. You idiot, she said with a smile. You actually did it. He looked up at her with weak eyes. Did the ship start? Just barely, she said. But it'll fly. As the station began to fall apart, they launched into space. The hangar exploded behind them, pieces of fire and metal spinning into the stars. Ethan looked at his empty chest, the crystal now gone. I don't feel the power anymore, he whispered. You feel human again, Laura said softly. He leaned back in the seat and closed his eyes. But just before sleep took him, a message flashed on the ship's screen. Signal detected. Source Earth colony beacon active. Ethan's eyes opened wide. Laura, he said, set course for that beacon. Why? She asked. Because Earth might still be alive. Asterisk. The stars were blinking in a strange pattern. Ethan sat quietly in the co-pilot seat, staring out into space. But something about the blinking stars felt wrong. They weren't blinking. They were signaling. Laura, he said, voice low. Are those stars sending a message? She checked the scanner, her face turning pale. That's not a constellation, she said slowly. That's a satellite swarm. And it's talking. A signal was pulsing in Morse-like code, old Earth code, long as sung. Forgotten, Ethan leaned forward, eyes locked on the screen. It's repeating one word, he said. Home. The escape ship followed the signal across a dead zone of space. It led them to a quiet, dusty moon orbiting a small red planet. There were no lights, no cities, just a dark bunker hidden beneath the surface. But the signal grew stronger as they got closer. They landed in silence, dust clouds rising as the ship settled. Ethan and Laura stepped out, armed and cautious. The wind was dry. The ground cracked and silent, but the metal door ahead of them opened with a soft hiss, as if it had been waiting for Ethan. Someone's here, he whispered. Or something, Laura replied, her hand on her weapon. They walked into the bunker, the lights flickering on one by one. Each step echoed down the empty hallway. On the walls were old Earth flags torn, faded but still there. This was human, Ethan said, running his fingers over a symbol. Very old. Then a voice echoed from deep inside. Welcome, Ethan. Rice, it said. It's been a long time. They stopped cold. Who said that? Laura called out. I did, the voice replied, from the shadows. A figure walked forward, not a human, not an alien. It was a machine, shaped like a man, with glowing blue eyes and a soft human voice. I am Archive Unit 01, it said. I was built to protect this place and wait for you. Wait for me? Ethan asked. Yes, the machine nodded. You created me. Ethan felt dizzy again. He couldn't count how many things he had created and forgotten. What is this place? He asked. A backup vault, the unit replied. A place where truth was buried and a future was stored. They followed it deeper into the bunker, past old tech, sleeping pods, and ancient computers. Laura noticed something strange. There were empty beds, food containers, clothing. People lived here, she said. Yes, the machine confirmed. A small group of humans survived the collapse and hid here. Where are they now? Ethan asked. Gone, it said sadly. Most died. But some left, searching for Earth's signal. Laura stared at Ethan. There might be more humans out there, she said softly. Ethan nodded. We need to find them, the machine led them to a control room where a large screen displayed a glowing map. This, the unit said, is the last known location of the Ark. Ethan's eyes widened. The Ark was real? Yes, the machine said. It was the final project of Earth, an attempt to escape extinction. The Ark was a ship, larger than a city, carrying seeds, knowledge, and frozen lives. Its mission was simple: survive, rebuild, and return. But it disappeared right before the war ended. Until now, Ethan stared at the map, feeling something pull at him again. He knew, deep inside, that the Ark was calling him, just like the cube, the armor. The crystal, everything he had left behind was returning. Suddenly, alarms blared through the bunker. "Warning," the machine said. "Hostile presence detected, airlock breach." Laura ran to the cameras. "They followed us," she said. Outside, shadowy shapes moved through the dust storm. "Fast and quiet." "Mercenaries," the machine said. "Cyber hunters. They're after me," Ethan said. "Not just you," Laura said grimly. "They want the Ark's coordinates." Ethan grabbed the drive from the console and stuffed it into his suit. "We're not giving them anything," he said. The bunker shook as explosions hit the outer doors. "Go," the machine shouted. "Take the secret exit." They ran through narrow metal tunnels lit only by red lights. Behind them, footsteps and voices echoed, getting closer. Ethan felt something burn in his chest again. He stopped, turned around, and held out his hands. Laura screamed. "What are you doing?" "Buying time," he said. He closed his eyes and the bunker lights flickered. Power surged through the walls as Ethan's hands lit up. When the mercenaries turned the corner, the hallway exploded in white energy. Dust and silence followed. Ethan stumbled forward, his face pale but alive. They escaped through the hatch and ran back to the ship, carrying only one thing: hope. As they lifted off, the map of the Ark shone brightly on the screen, a small star far across the galaxy. Ethan watched it quietly and said, "We're going home." The stars looked different now, not because they had changed, but because Ethan had. He stood at the front of the ship, staring at the glowing dot on the map. The Ark, the last hope of humanity, the one place where answers and people might still exist. Laura came beside him, her face calm but tired. "How far?" she asked. "Close," Ethan said. "But I'm not sure what we'll find." She nodded. "Whatever it is, we face it together." The ship dropped out of hyperspace. Before them floated a massive structure, hidden within the orbit of a dead star. It was shaped like a giant spiral, broken in some places, glowing softly in others. There were no signals, no life signs. It looked dead. "That's the Ark?" Laura whispered. "Yes," Ethan said, but even he didn't believe it at first. Then the ship's console beeped. DNA signature confirmed. "Welcome, Ethan Rice." Lights flickered across the surface of the Ark. Doors opened, engines stirred. It had been asleep, waiting for his return. They landed slowly in one of the Ark's silent docking bays. Inside, everything was coated in dust. Signs written in Earth languages decorated the walls. "Hope lives here." It was like walking through a museum of a forgotten world. As they explored, Ethan felt the crystal inside him stir again, even without touching anything. Doors opened, systems reactivated. "This place is tied to you," Laura said. "You're more than just its builder." "I'm its key," Ethan said quietly. They reached the core chamber, where a large circular platform glowed in the center. Screens lit up around them, and one final file unlocked. "Rebirth Protocol Initiate?" Laura looked at him. "What does that mean?" Ethan stepped forward. "It means we can bring Earth back." The Ark had everything: technology, DNA banks, clean water systems, frozen embryos. Everything needed to rebuild a home, but it needed a signal to launch, a leader to command it, and that was him. Suddenly, a distant noise echoed through the giant chamber. Footsteps, metal boots on the ground. "Not again," Ethan whispered. A group of cyber mercenaries stepped into the room. "Weapons ready. We tracked you through the stars." Their leader said, "That Ark belongs to the highest bidder now." Laura raised her weapon, but Ethan stopped her. "No," he said, stepping forward. "This ends with me." He activated the platform, and the ground beneath them lit up. Like a sun, the light rose from the floor, forming a shield that pushed the mercenaries back. "You can't win." The leader shouted. "You don't get it," Ethan said, eyes glowing white again. "This isn't about winning, it's about legacy." The Ark responded to his voice, his blood, his choice. Hidden weapons powered up, defense systems locked. Onto the invaders, the mercenaries ran, but they didn't make it far. One by one, the Ark protected itself, because its prime director had returned. When the silence returned, Ethan stood on the glowing platform. Laura came to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "What now?" she asked. "We wake them," Ethan said. He pressed the file command. "Rebirth protocol. Confirm." Deep in the ship, life support systems activated. Cryochambers hissed and opened slowly. Children, parents, scientists, workers, humans, who had been frozen for years, began to breathe again. One child opened her eyes, looked up at the ceiling, and smiled outside the ship. The Ark's engines flared for the first time in decades. Its giant wings spread, solar sails extended. It turned toward the stars, toward Earth, or whatever was left of it. Ethan sat in the command chair, tired but alive. "I thought I was just a soldier," he said. "A broken weapon." Laura smiled beside him. "You were wrong," she said. "You're a builder." He looked at the stars one last time. This wasn't the end of a journey, it was the beginning. Humanity had fallen, but now it would rise again. Not because of power or weapons, but because one man chose to remember, and one alien chose to stand beside him. The Ark sailed forward, brighter than ever, carrying the last breath of the past and the first light of a new beginning, and behind it the stars watched in silence, because after 20 years of sleep, the human had finally come home.